Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the Patreon drawing request video that should have been last month. Okay, there will be 2 Patreon drawing request videos this month. Promise. I promise you guys. Okay? I'm not falling behind. I'm well aware of what's going on. I worked on the Patreon drawing request last week as well. It just happened to come in the form of a Blender video. And if you recall from that video, I drew out a drawing that's in 3 dimensions, okay? And then I took a camera angle of that scene and snapped a picture and then plopped that picture into Affinity Photo. And this is that 3D drawing in a 2D program, okay? And so this is just me having something to help me visualize the camera angle. I don't necessarily need something. I don't necessarily need something to help me work out the perspective and the details, but it is nice to have just that basic thing. But because I drew it out so sketchy, it was very difficult to find out where my left vanishing point needed to be. And I should have paid more attention to what could be a horizon line. And so I made a rookie mistake. You're going to see multiple perspectives going on with this image, and you're going to be wondering what is going on. It looks kind of trippy, and then I wind up fixing it. It looks otherworldly, okay? And so I guess this is kind of a rare opportunity where you guys get the chance to see what happens when an artist that actually knows a little bit about what to do with drawing a picture, you know, like what does multiple perspectives look for me, okay? Like you guys have seen me kind of critique images in the past and said multiple perspectives, okay? This is a better portrayal of multiple perspectives, and what I mean by that, you're going to be able to actually see it right in front of your eyes. And already on the screen you can kind of see the problem, like right now, but it gets worse and worse as the image progresses. And I don't fix it for the longest time. Eventually it just winds up kind of, I don't know, a lot of the time if something's not working out, I ignore it until it just pisses me off. And by the time that it pisses me off, I've already thought of about 5 or 6 different ways that I could fix the problem. And normally my first guess, my first assumption is correct. And my first approach was to basically move the vanishing point 1/4 of an inch down. And that's all I wound up doing in order to fix the perspective problems. Now this is 2-point perspective, okay? It's different than 1-point perspective. On 1-point perspective, there is a front face. I can usually say that word right there, or that phrase, front face, okay? It makes sense inside of 1-point perspective, but 2-point perspective, things are turned quite a bit, okay? And so now the only thing that's facing you are corners, okay? Some of the corners to objects are going to be facing the camera with 2-point perspective. So this means that there is a right face and a left face, okay, to objects. And so that's how the terminology is going to progress inside of my videos whenever I'm talking about 2-point perspective. I will remind you guys of this later on when I basically actually spend time teaching 2-point perspective inside of the Perspective Training Wheels series. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah, you know, you can see it really. It's really bad, the multiple perspectives on the screen. And you know, I'm not really ashamed that I did this. It's a great illustration of what is meant when there's multiple perspectives going on with an image. Now, I do fix it, but like, pay attention to what's there. Right there, that building looks wrong, okay? Multiple perspectives. It's like most of the building looks just fine, but like something is just wrong with it. And so I moved the vanishing point about 1/4 of an inch down, and made sure that it followed some sort of horizon line with the other vanishing point, and you know, it fixed all my problems. Now a few of the lines needed to be adjusted. I needed to redraw the window. And, you know, I wasn't really that heartbroken about that. I didn't like how the first window turned out, so I drew a completely different window. And I drew something that looked more like a place that I would like to live in, such as a really big lintel stone. It's not the window sill. A lintel is above a window, okay? And I don't know why, but to remember that, I just think about belly button lint being on the top of a window for some reason. It helps me memorize that fact, okay? So, I don't know, maybe it might help you. It's kind of a stupid little mnemonic device, but it's something that I use to remember. But yeah, you know, everything's looking really good now, and all it needed was a shift in the vanishing point. It was a real big rookie mistake, like I keep saying. Like, I need to be more on top of that. I shouldn't have made that mistake. It's so stupid. But as a result, you guys got the chance to see what I mean by multiple perspectives. Okay? And, you know, to some extent, some of it still remains, but not enough of it to really pose any real problem at all. And so, you know, I'm not worried about any of it. And here, you know, instead of the previous video, I spent a lot of time rotating these leaves in three-dimensional space, but you just saw me draw out this ribbon-looking shape, and then I went ahead and drew out a three-dimensional looking leaf that's coming towards us, and that right there, that explains how to do it, like without 3D software. Pretty simple. Like, so you draw a ribbon, and that's it. That's your sketch for the leaf. Yeah, so I thought initially for the guy with the gun to give him a really crazy action pose, but that changed pretty quickly. I wanted him to be a lot more relaxed, and initially I was thinking, hey, yeah, some hillbilly, but after I drew him, I'm not really quite sure if he's necessarily like a stereotype, like a hillbilly. Yeah, you know, I drew him with a mullet, and he looks kind of ridiculous to some extent. And I gave him a gut, and he's got, you know, he's got holes in his t-shirt, and he's got like ketchup, mustard, and a bunch of other things on his shirt. But I didn't give him a plaid, like dress shirt. He's wearing a wife beater, so very, very stereotypical of what you would think of a hillbilly. But like, I don't know, the way that I made him, I don't feel like he's that character. He just kind of evolved with his appearance. And once I knew his face and I saw his gut, and yeah, you know, he's holding a beer, yeah, you know, he's pretty dang hillbilly, but maybe he's just a guy that's down on his luck, or has been for a long time, and maybe he won the lottery, and now he owns this really sweet private beach and a house, and he doesn't know how to pick coconuts, so he uses a gun. Or maybe he's eaten a few too many mushrooms, because the way that I color this image, it's totally understandable to think that, oh, okay, that's why he's trying to pick coconuts that way. He took some mushrooms. The coloring, I don't know, it's pretty obnoxious. I wouldn't really necessarily, like, I don't know what it's like to take mushrooms, but like, typically, I don't know, people feel psychedelic stuff when they have it, and they do hallucinate, and I don't know if colors get all wonky with that sort of thing, but I don't know. The general idea is, by the time that you guys see how I colored the image, I think that you would get the impression that maybe this guy is on drugs, and even if that's not fully communicated, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is. Like, I don't know, some things could be up for interpretation. Like, honestly, I don't think he's on drugs. I just think it looks funny if it looks like he is for some reason. That's my take on my picture. But yeah, someone asked me recently to give a tutorial on line work, and that's going to be difficult, like especially like how to ink your image, like what I think when I'm inking my image. I don't think really when I ink my image. I'm not thinking. It's just all automatic muscle memory sort of thing. So when I'm asked, hey, could you provide a tutorial on that, I'm not really quite sure how, because honestly, everything that I teach on my channel so far has been purely and just me explaining like the most formal ways of learning how to draw that I know of, like learning perspective and stuff. It's a big part of learning how to draw. It really is. You're missing, like, if you think you know how to draw and you love drawing and such like that, and all you can draw is a person, then you're missing out on like 2/3 of what drawing is. You're missing out, and you got to learn how to draw backgrounds. I mean, yeah, you could do it all in Blender if you wanted to, but it's not the same. It's really not the same as drawing it viscerally with your hands and like a pencil and paper. There's something about that experience with my childhood. It was just it was kind of powerful for me. And you know, here I'm just basically making a grayscale painting. Now I kind of regret doing all of this work here because I wind up actually covering it up later, but fortunately I cover it up with a different layer, and it has a gradient, and that gradient I needed it, and it just, I had to use a blending mode in order to compromise having some sort of gradient there versus like not having any of that texture. And I kind of lost half of the gradient and lost half of the texture that I put down on the stonework. And I'm okay with how it turned out. In the end, it's not even something noticeable. But yeah, here I'm trying to just kind of influence the darks and the lights to kind of reflect what everything would look like in color, as much as humanly possible. Like, what do I want the colors to do when I put down color? And I'm kind of thinking about that sort of thing. I'm not really necessarily talking about I know what every single color in the image is. I'm just saying that like I know that I want specific behaviors of the light and how it interacts with the color and such like that. And so yeah, it's turning out pretty good so far. You see me applying that gradient, and that covers up that texture on the stone that I mentioned earlier. And you know, I start noticing the problem right now, and so now I'm using a blending mode. And so like I said, I lost half of the textures and half of the gradient. It's like a very sad compromise, and I didn't want to do it again because it did take making selections. You have to make careful selections. It looks like I'm making really quick and sloppy selections because this is a time-lapse video. When I'm making selections, I am being very, very careful. And you know, like I keep saying inside of my videos are very deceptive because it makes things look like they happen fast and easy. Okay? It's not that way. It's not fast and easy. And so, like, everything's a time lapse. Keep that in mind. If you don't draw as fast as you see me on the screen, that's not the goal. Okay? Like, there are times when I mention something like, this image took like 18 hours to do. I think I've said something like that. 18 hours. That's impressive. So I don't know. And then trying to come up with the ability, like the time to then go ahead and edit the video together. Like I've been able to pull that off. That's crazy. Like every week I come out with a video, and I don't understand how I'm able to do it. I honestly don't. Like, to meet the deadline every single week. I don't know how I do it. The end of the week comes up and I have a video. It's crazy. Yeah, I work hard to get it to be that way. Kind of a change of topic, I'm sorry. But yeah, like, I don't know how it happens like that. How I manage to do that. To have that much dedication? Me? Seriously? Wow. Something changed. So yeah, basically I'm laying down the colors, and I applied a gradient map only to the line work, and I wanted kind of a purple gradient map all across the board, from darks to lights and midtones and stuff like that, and applied it only to the lines. The gradient, like the actual gradient map, is untouched, so I'm not really messing with that at all. But it's just right now I'm just using the color blending mode on a layer in order to lay down my colors, and you know, it's coming out looking stinking cool. I mean, you can already see it. It looks awesome. Gave him a blue shirt, you know. He just looks like some guy that's happy to be on vacation, and so happy he's just gonna forget that, you know, there is society, and wears a terrible shirt with stains on it. You know, there were times when I was like zoomed in, working on the building, just drawing the building, and then I'd zoom out, and then I'd just see this ridiculous looking character trying to pick coconuts out of a coconut tree with a pistol, and it just kind of made me chuckle a little bit. You know, the right way to pick coconuts out of a coconut tree is to get a hatchet and cut out these handhold footholds on either side of it, climb it like a ladder, and pick the coconuts. That's how you pick coconuts. Kind of interesting fact. I know somebody who went to the Philippines and stayed there for 2 years, and that's just a little factoid that I picked up from them. So yeah, I started playing around with the saturation and stuff, but in the end I really like it being saturated, and I thought, yeah, I can get away with it being saturated, primarily because we're looking straight into the sun. And you know, I think it's kind of interesting how I colored this guy, because like there's so many different colors that are just kind of intermingling with one another from different sources of light, and I think I did a moderately good job. But yeah, I think I generally pulled this image off rather well, and that's a good thing to say, because like oftentimes I've been saying with the Patreon drawing request series, I'm not happy with how the end result of this image is, and it's nice on an occasion to say, yeah, that one turned out real nice. And so here's the final image on the screen right now. It's looking pretty good, and ta-da! Yeah, I'm totally happy with how this turned out. And yeah, using Blender to draw out a 3D picture, totally viable option. Totally works. You come up with some awesome looking stuff. Anyways guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me or be part of my community even further, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter or follow me on Discord. A link to my Discord server and my Twitter is in the video description below. If you guys would like to support my channel, there's a picture of my mascot in the upper right corner of the screen right now. It leads to my Patreon. Any support would be much appreciated. And if you'd like to see more of my content, feel free to click on anything that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.